Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Actually, it's still morning, 25 to 12. We are without signal, just one of those things about living in the hills. And I think there's a typhoon about somewhere because it's very, very windy, and that has taken our signal away from us. So here I am. I'm trying to make a sense of some of the comments that were made when I was asked to share some of my ideas on why I am the level of fitness that I am at this age. It's not that I am perfectly fit, believe me. It's not that I'm going around lifting great weights. It is just that I'm completely without medication, and I don't do drugs generally. But haven't done all of my life, and this was kind of what I wanted to emphasize after the talk that I did after I did my little test going up the hill. Now, Beth is 29 and I'm 79, and we both started at the same place on the hill, and Beth flaked out before I did. Now that's a fairly normal thing because women generally are soft body. They may argue this, and there are many super fit ladies. If you go, just don't take my word for it, go on site, instead of looking at heavy duty bodybuilders who are probably on steroids and doing 3 and 4 hours in the gym every day, go on and type in on YouTube fitness girls. And that probably will bring up, usually it brings up several thousand sites, doesn't it? So look at what the fitness girls are. They are in perfect shape, they're hard bodies, they are super strong, they're not super weightlifters, but they're strong, fit, agile, supple, and usually quite beautiful as well, which is the other plus. But they've made the best of the body that they have without looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, whenever you talk to, usually, this has been my experience, whenever I talk to a lady about being fit, right, if I suggest the weights, resistance training, if I suggest that, the usual response is, I don't want to be muscle. I don't want to have a lot of muscle. I don't want to, or if they're a little bit feisty and got a sense of humor, I don't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right. Here's the reality on that. The idea that any normal, healthy, non-athletic lady is going to go into the gym for 35 minutes or an hour 3 times a week and come out at the end of it looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger is a little bit like driving your beat up old 1990 clunker of a car into the car wash, leaving it in there as it's driven through, and then going out the other side expecting to see a BMW. It's not going to happen. The people that you see that are sometimes regarded as being freaks because they have a body which is more muscled than most men will ever hope to achieve. They are dedicated champions of that sport. So is it any better than getting a ping pong table and thinking that you're going to be a champion at the end of the week? It's not going to happen. Being a champion at anything requires total dedication. That's what makes them champions. And I'm not being facetious. A champion, by any definition, is someone who has dedicated his or her life to the area of expertise or athleticism that they have chosen. Be it a ping pong, be it a table tennis champion, be it a super trumpet player, be it an Arnold Schwarzenegger lookalike. They worked very, very hard to get that. Now, back to us mere mortals, we can go into the gym and without killing ourselves for most of our lives, we can reach a ripe old age, whatever your opinion of what is a ripe old age is, in good health. Now, I look around at the people that are around me at various times in my life, and I've found that people give up the idea of good health because they consider that they'll never get old. And then they consider, well, you're old, so you expect not to be able to do things. And this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with our attitude, and this is what makes us as we are when we reach old age. We talked many times about how whatever you think, your thoughts now are creating the life that you want to lead in the future. And you've already, whether you like it or not, you've got to look at this with some sense of reality. And what you are doing right now is setting the stage for the play that you're going to be the star in when you get to 50, 60, 70. Now, what have you been doing? What have you been rehearsing for? What have you been rehearsing? If you've been heavily into drugs, if you've been heavily into alcohol, if you've been heavily and are still probably heavily into nicotine, then you've got some work to be done. There's work to be done. You're going to have to do the work. Nobody can do it for you. We've tried to help a lady recently who came to us with cancer of the breast. Now, as I said at the beginning, I believe, we bought the lady a juicer. We took down 18 kilos of carrots, which is usually the basic on any juicing regime. And we said what had to be done. Now, maybe it's just me, but if I felt that my life was at risk and somebody arrived and said, I can help you, I'd be kissing his feet. I would be all ears. I would be listening. Tell me how to do it. And then I would do it. Now, I've learned to do a lot of things in my life, and the one that required the most dedication was that of being a musician. Now, when you're a musician, you go to a great teacher, if you can afford it, and you listen to what he says. And I've given this lesson before once as well, when in order to learn anything, there's got to be several components. There's got to be a student willing to learn, willing to listen, willing to apply what is learned. A student. There has to be, obviously, a subject. There has to be a teacher willing to teach. Now, you're saying to me, well, obviously, I mean, does that make you clever? You work that out? No, it doesn't. But so often, people may go to a teacher who is actually unwilling or unfit to teach. Also, the student. Now, when I went to my trombone teacher, I took him a piece of music, Flight of the Bumblebee. Sir, can you just teach me this and I'll be a great player, won't I? I said. And he said, if you take your instrument out of your case and you don't practice what I tell you, you are wasting your time. And I smarted a lot under that because I respected the man a great deal. And I said, sorry, sir, I'm listening. And I listened and I learned a great deal, and became a proficient musician thanks to Mr. Bill Teskey, who was the principal trombone player of the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So, you've got to be listening. Now, I had another lady in Fort Myers, who used to say she thought it was wonderful that I was in the shape that I was in, and that I was the age that I was back then. And she used to say, can I, if there were other people around, can I brag about your age? And I would say, well, it could be more boring. But here's the rub. She was not in good shape herself. She was already at the stage of going into much, much bigger flowing robes, because she couldn't fit in those sexy dresses anymore. And when I said to her, you're impressed by my age and my condition, do you want to know anything about it? Well, bottom line was, short story was, no. And she was not willing to change the way that she was. Now, I was willing to change the kind of thing that I was going to teach my teacher to teach me, and I learned. But she wanted to know what she wanted to know. In other words, she was both the teacher and the student, and not doing either very well. So all of your preconceived ideas, which we all have, from everything from when your mother used to tell you what she used to stitch in time saves 9, and if you don't work now you won't be able to get a job, and all of those I don't know, folk stories, which actually produce results, all are there, impregnated, imprinted into your thinking. And some of them are false beliefs, because some didn't have great parents. Some had parents who looked at them and said, you know, you'll never amount to anything. And boy, that person who had that said to her, him, is walking around thinking, I don't know why it is, but I don't think I'll ever be able to do anything. It's there. It's a conditioned response which they are unaware of, but which is controlling their lives. And I've given you an oversimplified example of it. So, back to fitness. If you really believe that you're going to be over-muscled just because you spend half an hour in the gym 3 times a week, you're sadly mistaken. If only it were that easy, there would be no such thing as bodybuilding competitions, because it would be too easy. Everybody would be a bodybuilder. It would be so easy. Half an hour in the gym and you come out looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. What on earth would Arnold Schwarzenegger have done? There'd have been nothing left for him. There'd be no point in him saying that he was going to be back. So, look at what the response was for a couple of people, and you'll understand how we all are conditioned to respond in a certain way. And that's why people look at someone who is 65 or 70 and think, wow, he's lived a good life, he's had a good age, you know. When they find out that someone died at 70, well, you know, he had a good innings. That's a cricket. That's an awfully cricket term. He's had a good innings, old chap. When you get to 70, you may not think that, and you'll be wondering, why the hell didn't I take better care of my body? If you took as much care of your car as you take of your body, you probably wouldn't even make 60 or 70. So, how can you turn this around? The first place to start is in the mind. And this is so important. It can't be stressed too much. You have to change your thinking. Now, when I did my little walk up our extremely steep hill, it's concreted, so it's not a dangerous thing. It's all concreted right from the bridge right up to our house. And I did that walk under what I would call under power. Disagree with the description if you want, but I Power walked it up there. In other words, I got on with it and I didn't start slowing down and taking a breath and putting my hand on my knee and wishing I hadn't started. I started what I finished. And when I got to the top, I was out of breath. Somebody said, "Oh, you're puffing rather hard there, sir." Yes, I was. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to push yourself in an extreme for a limited amount of time so that the heart rate goes up and you will make some progress. As you push yourself, you will make more progress. Now, a good friend, Kerry, an Australian, made an observation. He played the tape in real time and he worked out that it took me 4 minutes to regain my normal breathing. Now my heart rate, as I've said in the last video, my heart rate is higher now than it's probably ever been because I am that much older, and I haven't been working out lately, and I've realized that this is a bad mistake because as soon as if you're listening and you're 65 or 60, if you've been smoking and drinking, this is the writing on the wall. It's not going to get easier from now, and retiring to your rocking chair is not going to make life a pleasure. If you've been fairly active in your life, you may be one of those people who have been a football player, who have been a big guy, who have been able to lift a lot of stuff and have been able to run the quarter mile in a very short time. And it will be a disappointment to you as you gradually realize that things that you could lift formerly, you cannot lift anymore. Your body is telling you to do some work, and you can't get away with this. This is the fact of it. This is not opinion. This is as solid a fact as this is a flashlight. Schwarzenegger worked with people in their 70s and found that people in their 70s who went and under some kind of supervision, if they had not led that kind of a life prior to their 70s, could actually make good progress by lifting weights. Now, when I say lifting weights, am I going to say that you should be doing the power lifting that you see with those guys who are strapped up in the middle with a huge belt that's about this big, and then they drop the weight after they've lifted it and it hits the ground like thunder? No, I'm not going to do that. What I'm suggesting is that on a gradient is the idea of a staircase, of a ladder. You start at the bottom and then you go up. Now, muscle has memory, so if you're going as I've been all of my life, I've been a cyclist, a walker, I've been into the gym for pleasure, I like it, I've done weights, I've never been a bodybuilding perfect specimen, okay? But I've always been in pretty good shape, and I'm in pretty good shape now. Not bragging about this, even though I feel that, yes, I'm very happy with it, right? But my resting heart rate right now, which I took prior to doing the last video, was, I think, 56. It was 56 beats a minute. Now, if you take look at the clock, it's got a left, if it's got a second hand, look at the clock and choose 15 seconds out of that and count your pulse. But let's make it easy for you. If your pulse is 50 beats per second for the 15 seconds, total of 50, you multiply that by 4 and you get 100, and that's your pulse rate. Hopefully it's not that much, okay, but my math is limited, okay? So you're going to do it, and you're going to do 30. It's simple to find out what your resting heart rate is. So my resting heart rate at the moment is about 56. Believe it or not, it used to be 44 or 45 resting heart rate. So when I would do an exercise similar to what you saw me do in the last video of walking, running up that hill and doing it in fairly quick time and taking 4 minutes to recover, this is how you should view what your present level of fitness is. It's one way to do it. Find out how long it will take you to get over doing some intense exercise, and then seek to improve it. Take your resting heart rate, find out what that is, and then check on YouTube. Don't take my word for it, even though I say that my resting heart rate was sometimes 44, 45, 46. There was a runner, an American marathon runner, whose heart rate was, I believe, 36 to 38 in his resting position. What that meant was he could push himself for longer periods of time than any other mere mortal, and his heart rate would probably go up to under what you or I might regard as being a normal resting heart rate. When I used to train, as I've said before, I used to go around a place called Balboa Park. And in Balboa Park, it was perfect for rollerblading. Well, I used to work out then on the weights, and I also used to do lengthy, strenuous training on rollerblading. I used to do that circuit, a couple of times at least. And I remember once that this is when I was in my late 50s, I think probably about 58, close to 60. And there was a chiropractor who had set up a tent under an awning, and he was giving free come in and check your blood rate and all of that. So I went in, and he tested me, for body fat, and he tested my heart rate, which actually was not resting because I'd already been doing something strenuous in the rollerblading. And he said, well, I don't know what you've been doing, but keep on doing it, because you have the cardiovascular of a 20-year-old athlete, So whatever I've been doing all of my life is where I am right now. Now, someone said, yes, well, there was that man that was riding all over the continent, and then he suddenly dropped dead. That's true. My brother suddenly dropped dead when he was in his 50s, and he'd been abusing his body most of his life, and he paid the price. He paid the terminal price. So, if you're looking at using any of this information in a positive way, here's what you have to start doing. Judging on whether you have been athletic in your life and are now looking with disappointment at the writing on the wall, which says that you are no longer the athlete that you used to be, now's the time to do something about it, because after 50, your body starts to wind down. But why does it start to wind down? My estimation only is it stops being challenged. Now, women habitually, customarily, stop challenging their bodies because they don't like the look of muscles. So they want to have a shapely calf, but they don't want a muscle to be showing, which for me, a woman's muscled calf is a great thing. That's just for me. Muscle on a woman, which is not excessive. I'm not talking about the bodybuilding champions. I'm talking about the fitness ladies who look in terrific shape, flat stomach, minimum of body fat. What I missed to tell you was, when I was tested for body fat at the time, going around Balboa Park and by the chiropractor, he said, well, just on the rough test that he did, he said that I was like 13% body fat at nearly 60. This is very, very unusual. When I was talking to the man who ran the the gym that I went to, and I was talking to him about diet and everything, and he said, I'm looking at your arms, there's no way that you can be 13% body fat. You're probably under 10% body fat. Now, if you are looking at trying to reduce these things, here's something that you should know. If you look at the circle, now this is a cake, okay? So you're looking at a cake and you're cutting it into portions about how everything should be done. 75% is diet. 75% is diet, and 25% is regarded as being exercise. So you exercise hard, but 75% is what you should or shouldn't be doing in diet. Now, someone has also sent me a very proud email comment, and he said, all my life I've eaten everything I want to. I eat this, I eat that, I eat red meat, I eat this. I think he said he smokes until recently, he drinks, he does everything all wrong, and he still counts himself as being in good shape. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I think he even said he's in his 70s as well, so this is a rare bird. You're doing terrific, and you are testament to the fact that it's how you look at things which is also part of that cake. But that's a cake underneath a cake. The top cake is 75% food, 25% on exercise, and underneath that cake is another whole cake, or the first tier. And the first tier is what you think. And it cannot be emphasized enough that if you, what's the great saying? If you think you can't do something, then you definitely can't do it. It's as simple as that. If you try, then you might succeed. But if you have already made up your mind that you can't do it, how can anybody make you do it? It's just not possible. You're going to fall on your ass, and that's the end of it. So, you need to change your thinking, and you need to start allowing for the fact that you've got some rescue work to do. If you're, let's describe you as around 50, starting to notice that you're slowing down, starting to notice that sometimes where you never got out of breath, you sometimes find yourself getting out of breath. Now, possibly you're thinking to yourself that you should be thinking about giving up smoking. Now, these are the two biggest stumbling blocks in my mind. Going on the obvious thing that you're not doing drugs. That's a given to my mind. But let's say that you're smoking and drinking. You really have to go in and do some research on the smoking and drinking, because for my money, all of the people that I knew that told me that they didn't have a problem with drinking, and they didn't believe that they shouldn't have a cigarette now and then. Their now and then, by the way, would probably be a pack a day. Okay, so there's a lot of Hollywood license in that. I just have a pack, or I smoke socially, or I drink socially. Yes, okay, let's not argue about it, all right? But you're going to have to look at what price are you willing to pay for comfortable health in your later years. Now, a man who I knew who was in his 80s, early 80s, but quite infirm, could not walk more than probably 3 or 4 minutes, was not in any kind of comfort at all, made an observation to me. He said, I was doing great until I reached 70. He said, and then all hell broke loose. Everything started going wrong. Well, you're not under guarantee. I mean, many people that I know, if they were still under guarantee, they'd have sent themselves back years ago. You're not under guarantee. But in a way, there is a negative guarantee which you will be held to and which is being paid without question. It's a no quibble guarantee. Sit back on it and you will suffer. Use it or lose it. And believe me, if you lose it, life becomes one hell of a bitch. It's no fun. It's no fun getting older anyway. But from what I've seen of other people, some people can't stand for long, some people can't sit for long, some people can't find a place where they're comfortable. Some people have been going through pain for 10, 20 years when they reach 70. They started on the pills for comfort at 50. And boy, it's a long, as Beth would say, a long, slippy slope. But you can change it. And I believe that if you go back and you watch the movie that I mentioned at the beginning without telling you the title, if you watch that movie, Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, do not go into an ego thing and start saying, well, I'm not fat, sick or nearly dead. Why would I watch a movie like that? This is a man who was on too many medication, too many pills for medication. And he decided, as I've been saying, he's around 50. He decided, I'd better do something about it. So he did everything the right way. He went to his doctor. He had all of the tests done. And his doctor agreed, yes, you better do something about the way that you're living. And then he took himself off to America. He bought an SUV and a juicer and a little generator that he could generate back up again from his car. And he lived on the juicer for 3 months. He got off all of his medication. And he changed the life of quite a few people in his travels. One of the startling ways that it was demonstrated about carrying a lot of weight. A lot of people don't realize that the weight that they carry is weight that they are carrying that they don't need to carry. Now when you get someone who has come to terms, now that's a good phrase for you, who has come to terms with being 350 pounds, and they've accepted it, they've accepted the 50 and 60 inch weight measurement, they've accepted all of those things, they've accepted that they can't walk very far because their thighs rub together. They've accepted all of those things, not realizing that this is a payment that they're going to make, and it has a balloon payment at the end of it. Wonderful. I think it's a wonderful thing, the way that Americans can find a way to phrase something which makes it more comfortable. So it means that you can go along paying a low payment, low payment, low payment, low payment, and then suddenly you got a balloon payment. So your little payment, which was here, suddenly goes way. Then it's all deals are off. Pay now, not pay later. You've been paying later. Now you got to do the whole bill, and you do it in terms of pain, of lack of being able to do things, lack of energy, lack of all of those things. But you can change it now. I actually read about smoking, never been a smoker myself, so I can only sympathize with people that are addicted to smoking, and I know that it's the heaviest drug to try to stop using. And that's from people that they researched, and they polled people who had been into heroin and some of those really heavy duty drugs, which can kill you. And they said, what was the toughest thing to give up? And they said, smoking. It's all so socially acceptable. So you need to face up to the fact that you're being signaled by your body to start shaping up. And it's not just to get back in shape. You don't go step, 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 fit. Okay, I can relax now. Step, 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 to the same. You're going to have to face up to the fact that in order to enjoy a quality of life, it takes work. It takes work. So, get ready. You got to do that. Now, I will do some more on this, and I will show you a couple of exercises that I did which didn't require huge amount of skill, and you didn't have to memorize all of those different complicated names that they have, you know, like deadlifts and and others that I can't even remember the name of. But you can remember these, and they're simple in concept and they're hard to do. And let me show you the weight. This is my weight room, okay? This is my weight room. So don't go out and buy one of those complicated machines that will do everything but make your coffee in the morning and boil an egg. You don't need it. But there are a couple of things that you can help yourself with, and the simplest exercises are often the best. Go online and have a look at the guys who don't have an access to great rooms, fitness rooms. They don't have an access. I've forgotten the name of the guy, but I think he's called the King. He's a black American, and he goes out to the park that's at the front of his house, which has some very humble exercise things, like bars, where you can do dips and stuff like that. A dip is where you get your hands up here and then dip your body up and down. Very simple. And he is in incredible shape. Okay, so I'll do some exercises on a different time, and thanks for looking in. This is, if you've got an age and you have a number, this should be of interest to you, because those numbers start to work against you very fast. But you can do something about it, and you will enjoy being in better shape. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Please like, comment, subscribe. Bye for now.